All right, so back to this. Now, once you have the folder created, right? Once you have your Cyber Home Lab created, drag everything in here. Once everything have been, unzipped, of course, and you will have your Kali, you will have your Windows 7. I would like for you to rename these. So just call that Windows 7. No, Windows 10. Excuse me, Windows 10. And this you can leave the name as that. I really don't care. But with this one, we want to make sure we rename this to Win 10, right, for Windows 10. If I go back a little bit here, you'll see the other ISO program here, and this is our Server 2019. So why don't you just call it that, Server 2019, and that's it. And this right here, we can also call this Kali Linux, right? Just, to make it look a little bit nicer. All right, once you finish renaming all those things, now you are ready to move on to the next step. And this step, it's, all about importing those programs into VirtualBox, so we can, get started working with the home lab, right? All right, so first thing we need to do here is import the programs into VirtualBox. And how we're going to do that is by clicking on import, right? There's the import section there, and you'll see that little folder, on the right hand side. You'll click on that. It's going to take us to our File Explorer. I want you to go to the location where you have all your programs saved. Mine is going to be into the C drive, the Cyber Home Lab, and we're going to start with Kali Linux. We're going to import that bad boy. Going to click on next and then click on import. Going to ask us if we agree to the terms. Going to say yes, and here we are, is importing. So Kali is probably not going to take that long, but again, it depends on how fast your computer is. So let's wait. Let's give it a minute and wait it to finish. All right, so it looks like Kali has finished importing. Another program we need to import is our Windows 10. So we're gonna click on Tools again, and then go to the import section. Go back to that little icon, that little folder looking thing, and then just go back to the this PC. Click on the Windows C drive, go to your Cyber Home Lab, and then click on Windows 10, Win 10. I'm gonna bring that in, gonna click next, import, and then give us some time to import as well. Now Windows 10 might take a minute. It's because it's a bigger file than Kali Linux, so be prepared to wait about few minutes. Great. Now that Windows 10 have finished, we need to bring in Metasploitable and Server 2019. So these are a little bit different, right? And I like this combination because you get the chance to install everything, from different angles. So let's start with the Metasploitable. All we're gonna have to do is just click on a new, right? As if we were installing a new operating system. New, and we're just gonna call this Metasploitable. All right, Metasploitable 2. Just put a 2 there just to be sure. And this is going to be a Linux distribution. Specifically, it's going to be an Ubuntu 64. It's going to be an Ubuntu 64-bit, right? So make sure these two are selected. Linux, Ubuntu 64. Click next. Now, as far as the RAM goes, let's just give this bad boy 2 GB of RAM. So you can just say 248, right? 248 for the memory size. Next, and here is the difference, right? So with this one, it's not an OVA file. It's like a VirtualBox file that's pretty much ready to go. So what we're going to do, we're just going to click on use an existing virtual hard disk file, right? And we're just gonna go look for it. So click on this little folder looking icon here. Gonna go to add. We're gonna go to the same location, this PC, free, right? The C drive. Go to the Cyber Home Lab and go to the Metasploitable. Metasploitable again, and this is the file that we need. Okay, it's called VMDK, something like that. All right, we're gonna select it, click open, bring that bad boy in, right? Choose it, it's attached, click on create. That's it. That's all you have to do for this one. Now let's do the same thing for Server 2019. So what we're gonna do with the Server 2019, we're gonna click on the new again, click on the new, and we're just gonna call this DC1. I just like to call my server DC for domain controller, because we're gonna promote this server to be a domain controller, right? Remember, we need this to be a domain controller. We also need this to be a DNS server. So DC1 as the name. The type of operating system is Microsoft, obviously. And as far as the version goes, we need to select Windows 2019 64-bit. Once that's selected, click next. And here I like to push this to a 4 gig, right, like 496, and just click next. Now with this, we're gonna leave, the create a virtual hard disk now. We're gonna leave that selected. Click on create, and they're just gonna ask us, do you want to create a VDI, hard disk? Say yes, absolutely. And you want this to be, dynamic. It's not fixed, right? Dynamic meaning later on we can expand to it. Just gonna say yes, and then they're gonna ask us how big is it. Obviously they will pre-select 50. We're just gonna keep that as of right now, and then click on create. Boom. Now these are created. So first thing, before we do anything, let's kind of rename them, specifically with the Kali. So I want you to right click on it, click on settings, then you see where it says name. Let's just change that to Kali Linux. I'm just gonna click OK. I'm not gonna do anything as of right now yet, right? Let's do the same thing for this Windows 10. So right click on Windows 10, click on settings, and let's just rename this to Win 10. Okay. All right, Win 10. There we go. Now we have Kali Linux. If I can spell Linux right, Linux. There we go. And we have Windows 10, Metasploitable, gonna leave it like that, and DC1 as it is. Now we need all these for them to communicate. We need all of them to be connected on the same switch. So what I'm going to do, I am going to connect this. Let me make this full screen. It's better that way. So what I'm going to do, I am going to connect these to my home Wi-Fi. That way I'll be able to ping each one of these from my actual machine, right? From my physical machine. All right, so what I need to do is right click on Kali Linux, go back to settings. You can also, select it and then go to settings. It accomplishes the same thing. So go to settings, and from here, just go to the network section, and you'll see that adapter 1, it's set to on NAT. Right, network address translation. We don't want that. We want to change this to a bridged adapter. Bridged adapter, then it's gonna select our Wi-Fi. That's what we want. All right, gonna click OK. I do the same thing for all of them. So go to settings, go to network, and then make sure that adapter 1 is selected, and then go to NAT bridged adapter. Click OK. Do the same thing for Metasploitable. Okay, bridged adapter, click OK. Do the same thing for Windows 10. I say Windows 10, I keep saying Windows 10, but for DC1, and go to the network section, go to the bridged adapter, click OK, and that's it. Now, logically, they are all connected on the same, kind of a logical switch, right? It's like if we will have these 4 physical machines and then we have a switch, a physical switch, and then you walk up with your RJ45 cable connecting each one of them to one of those ports. That's what we just accomplished right now. Okay, so now that you have all of them connected to the same switch, we're just gonna power 2 at any given time, right? We don't want this to go crazy, so we're just gonna double click on Kali Linux, or just click on Kali Linux and then go to start, go to the normal start, right? You could have also just double click on it and it's gonna accomplish the same thing, right? And here I like just to close these little guys there, those little notifications, they're kind of annoying. All right, Kali Linux is coming up. One more thing I want to show you as Kali Linux is coming up is this right here, the little description that we got from Offensive Security, the creator of Kali. Here they also included the username and password. So within Kali, the username and password is going to be Kali, and that is for the latest version of Kali, obviously. So that's it right there, Kali. So just gonna go back to Kali, just gonna type in Kali and password Kali. Click on login. And right now we're just verifying, guys. We're just verifying. We're not doing anything crazy yet, right? Remember, this is the initial setup. We're just setting up everything and making sure everything is talking to everything, and that's it. Right? As far as going crazy, which we will, right? We will do things such as Nmap. We will do all kind of a cool stuff, but we're gonna do that into the upcoming live lessons. But as of right now, we just want to check to make sure things are working okay. All right, so I'm gonna open up a terminal. Well, they call this a terminal in Kali. I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. And the only thing I need to do here is to check my IP address. And I can just type in IP A, or I can also do ifconfig, right? For those who are familiar with the Kali, with the Linux. But I like IPA because it gives you this color-coded thing. Right now, our INET on ETH0, which is our interface, our INET is 192.168.1.222. Now I want you to write that down. So I'm going to open up Notepad. Okay, I'm going to call this my Cyber Home Lab. All right, and you can just give it a name that, whatever name that you want, but I want you to note this down, right? So the default, the actual IP address for this machine is 192.168.1.220, and is a /24, which basically means it got the subnet the subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Again, if you don't know networking, it's really hard. It gets hard when it comes to security, because remember, security is all about securing the basics. So you have to know networking, because at the end of the day, we are securing networks. So if you need help with that, of course, I do a lot of training for Cyberkraft, and feel free to join me. All right, another thing we need to take here, I also need to label this Kali Linux. And the default gateway is going to be the same for all of these machines. So I'm probably gonna have to grab that from one of the Windows machine, but for now, let's just have that written down. All right, so that's it with this Kali Linux. So another machine we need to turn on is our Windows 10. Remember, these two were OVA files. With an OVA file, we don't need it to do the whole installation from scratch. So as soon as the machine starts up, you're good to go, right? It's really straightforward. There's no click here, click there. No, it takes you straight to the login screen, or it takes you straight to the home screen, really. All right, so double click on Windows 10 if you haven't already, or just right click just like before, click on start, right? Start should be there somewhere. Now it's running, so it won't show me, but I'm gonna bring this Windows 10 back here. to make it smaller so I'll be able to see both of these. All right, so now look at that. It's really that easy. It's really that straightforward. You don't have to start or install anything or go to Windows 10 and all that stuff. So, but it's okay to know how to install Windows 10 from scratch. And if you want to do that, obviously do download the ISO file and then just go from there. I will show you how to do that within DC1, within our server, obviously. So, as you can see, they're telling us, hey, welcome to the network, and that's exactly what we want. But here, I just want to go to CMD or command prompt, right? CMD, command prompt. It's similar to what Linux calls the terminal. And I probably do. I need to make that a little bit bigger for you guys to see it. All right, there we are. So just gonna type in ipconfig, right? And I'm just checking my IP address, my default gateway and stuff like that. So this right here is going to be 192.168.1.222. So what I'm going to do here is bring up my notepad and just make a note of that. So I'm gonna go back there, type in Win10 for Windows 10, and then say IP 192.168.1.226. Again, these numbers are dynamically assigned to these computers, but within DC1 we're gonna have to statically assign that number, and I will tell you why. So that's it. The subnet mask is the same, 255.255, and the default gateway is 254. Okay, 254. Again, I could have seen that on a Linux if with the IP the IPR, right? IP just R, and it will give me the actual IP address, and the subnet mask will be here somewhere. Okay, the default via, there you go. Default via, that's 254. That's my default gateway. And my actual IP address is this right here, and my network ID or my network IP address is that right there. There you go. But I kind of like the Windows version. It's a little bit clean. There you go. So the default gateway, default, can just say DG for default gateway, right? No, I'll type in the whole thing. Default gateway. All right, it's going to be 192.168.1.254 or 254. There we go. Now we have the default gateway. Not that we're gonna use it as much. I'm just making notes, guys. I'm just making notes, taking notes, making sure that this is really noted. I'm also going to save this because I'm using Notepad and I don't want to lose it. So let's go back to the home page, to the C drive, go back to the Cyber Home Lab and just save this as Cyber Home Lab systems, right? Just give it some name, right? Or IP addresses. There we go, that's better. There we go. Click save or type in save or hit enter on your keyboard, and now this is saved, right? It's saved right there. Everything we need is there. So that was Windows 10. That's Kali. Let's just get one for, let's just do DC1 and IP for its IP address, right? It's probably going to be 192.168.1. Now remember, I said I'm gonna manually assign an IP address to this one, right? This one, I'm not gonna allow this to be dynamically. So what I'm going to do here is just give it an IP address. Just write it down and I will manually change it in there. So 192.168.1.222, right? I think that's not taken. I hope it's not taken. Then let's go to Kali. No, not Kali. Metasploitable. Metasploitable 2. As far as the IP addresses goes, let's call this bad boy Actually, it's gonna show us its IP address, right? Because this is gonna get it's going to be dynamically assigned an IP address as well. So IP. Now this here, the DC1, we probably need a DNS. So for this one, DNS is going to be Google's well-known DNS, like 8.8.8.8. Just gonna write that down. We're gonna also need the default gateway, which we already have. We're gonna need what else? We're gonna need a subnet mask, which we already have. You know what? I should probably say mask, right? Just so it looks a little bit nicer. There we go. So we got that there. What else do we need? That's it. Right, so if you have this written like this, it's gonna help us keep organized, right? It's gonna help us keep everything in check and make sure that we don't miss anything. Remember, your IP addresses are going to be different, right? That's why I want you to write them down. This is a very critical step for you to accomplish, because if you don't, you're just gonna have to keep doing IEF config or IP config or IPA or you got the idea. All right, so now that we have Linux, we have Kali, and we have Windows 10 here. So let's ping them, right? Let's ping them to see if they work okay. So ping what this guy's IP address, 192.168.1.254. That's the default gateway. So its IP address is that right there. So I'm just gonna ping it. 192, if my number will work. Ping 192.168.1.220. Okay, hit enter, and it seems like my Kali Linux machine is responding. It's saying, hey, I'm here. So for those who doesn't know, ping is when you just you connect it to another computer just to check if that computer is available or if that computer is online. So right now, my Windows 10 just reached out to this Kali Linux machine, and it was asking, hey buddy, are you there? And the Kali replied saying, yes, I'm here. How do we see that? Well, 4 packets were sent, 4 packets were received, 0 packets were lost. And every time you see this like that there, it's literally telling you what have been, what was sent, right, and all that good stuff. And this is then another way of making sure or checking to see if things are working okay. If this wasn't working, it would have came back and be like, hey, system unreachable, some type of something like that. So that's working okay. So let's ping this Windows machine from this Kali Linux, make sure they're working okay. So 192.168.1. For this one, it's going to be that 226. Remember, that's its IP address. And if you don't remember where that is, you can always look at your notepad, right? All right, gonna hit enter. And this one is not responding. Okay, I am not surprised. By default, Microsoft's firewall, Windows host firewalls, is blocking ping from working. So there's few ways we can get around that. Either one way is to turn off the firewall, and another way is to open up the network discovery. So I'm going to show you how to do that later once we connect once we connect Windows 10 to our DC1. Okay, I'm going to show you how to turn off the firewall or maybe turn on the network discovery. But right now, and we're going to go back and ping it, making sure everything's working okay. But right now, our Linux, it's not reaching our Windows 10. The reason is because the firewall on the Windows 10 is blocking, right? It's blocking the this ping. So Control C on your keyboard will stop that from keep pinging, right? Keep trying to ping, and that's it. So here I'm gonna close down Windows 10. So I'm gonna click on this exit, and make sure you select power off the system, and then click OK. Right, I'm shutting down Windows 10. Right, so the next step is to boot up the Metasploitable 2. So I'm gonna right click on that, click on Start, Normal Start. Okay, again, you could have double click on it or click on that start, it will accomplish the same thing. And here we're gonna open Kali Linux, and we're gonna open this right here because I want to ping them and make sure they're working. Remember, this is the initial setup, right? We just, you know, double checking, make sure things are working okay. Again, I hate these little messages, so I just close them all. All right, so another thing I can be doing here, the thing when you are working on your terminal, it gets messy really quickly. So you can just do clear, type clear, literally the whole word clear, hit enter, and it's gonna clear your screen for you. All right, so here we have it. We have Metasploitable ready to go. The beauty of Metasploitable, if you look a little closer, it's gonna tell you, hey, log in with MSF admin, and your password is MSF admin as well. So we can just literally just go in and just type in MSF admin, right? Hit enter, and then the password is going to be the same. MSF admin, and then hit enter, and then boom, we are in. You're like, okay, how do I know we're in? Well, based on that little dollar sign. We didn't have that dollar sign earlier, but also if you can see a little bit closer, there's a few more information that was displayed. All right, so one thing that I want to do here is to check the IP address, obviously. So we're gonna do ifconfig. Okay, and ifconfig is going to reveal what's the IP address for this bad boy. My mouse doesn't work when I try to, you know, hover over it, but hopefully I can make this bigger. Nope, it's not working. All right, let me try this one more time. There we go. All right, there we go. Here we are. Oops, a little bit too big maybe. But no, I just want to show you the ETH0 for the iNet IP address. So as you can see, this Metasploitable computer, its iNet address, it's 192.168.1.230, right? That's the actual IP address. So let me exit out of this. And now that we know that's the IP address there, we can ping it. So if I can ping from my computer here, my Kali Linux, ping 192.168.1.230. Okay, hit enter, and as you can see, it's pinging okay. Right. Another thing you should remember is that within Kali Linux, it's not going to stop. So unless you specifically tell Kali, hey, I want you to ping 4 times only. So you're gonna have to do Control C on your keyboard if you're on Windows, or Command C, I believe, on the Mac. All right, so that's that there. Here they're asking us display. Oh no. Let's not do that. So let's just ping Kali Linux. So I'm gonna type in ping from my Metasploitable machine. And remember Kali Linux's IP address, and obviously if you don't remember, bring up your notepad and just ping your Kali Linux. So that IP address right there. I go back to my Metasploitable. I ping for 192. If I can get it to work. So ping 192.168. Okay, it's embarrassing. 168.1.220. Hit enter, and here we are. It's pinging okay. So which basically means they are communicating, right? They're connected on the same switch. I'll do Control C to stop it from pinging, and we are good. All right. So one last thing we need to do here is to close out this, again, power off machine. And one last thing we need to do is to install the server. So what I'm going to do right now is to close out Kali Linux as well. And I'm just going to have the I'm just going to be working from the server and the Windows 10. So I'm going to close that out, close Kali Linux, power off Kali Linux, and open up DC1. Now before we open up DC1, let's do something quickly. So the entire installation can be a little bit fast, right? We can always roll back if we're not, we can always, change the settings. So what I want to do is right click on DC1, go to settings one more time, and here I want you to click on systems. Now systems, as you see, we have given this machine 4 gigabytes of RAM, but I have 16 and none of the other machines is turned on. So I want the whole installation to be fast, so I want to push this up to 8 gig, right? I'm going to just give that to 8 gig, and the processor, I want this to be 4 processor, because my my CPU has up to 12 core core CPU here. All right, so once I've finished changing that, there's really nothing else you need to change here. Just click OK. Right, that was the only change I need to make, and then click on Start or double click on it. And again, the only reason why I made those changes is so this will be fast. All right, now here, once I click Start, they're gonna ask me, hey, we need the operating system, right? Like it's empty. Your hard disk is empty. So we're gonna have to click on that little icon, that little folder looking thing again, and that's gonna take us to the optical disk selector. We're gonna click on this add icon there, and it's gonna take us to the same location. Gonna go to the Windows C drive. Seems like I might need some more storage, and we're gonna go to this Cyber Home Lab folder. Now let's bring in the Windows Server 2019. Okay, gonna click on Server 2019, gonna click OK or Open, gonna choose it, gonna start it. Okay, so I'm gonna close that little notification there. All right, so this is the process of installing a Microsoft Windows Server from scratch. Now, the whole installation process is similar to if you were installing Windows 10 per se, right? The whole installation process will be the same, right? All these agree to the terms, select your language, and all that stuff, it will be the same. Okay, so I'm gonna close that again. All right, now Windows Server 2019. Click on Next, click on Install Now. Okay, remember, this is an ISO file. Is as if you are installing a computer into your machine, into your physical computer from a DVD drive. Like how you install a DVD into your machine. These days, people probably do USBs. So you put that in there, you press some keys like F8 or F2 or F12, then it boots your computer from the DVD drive. Is the same thing we're trying to accomplish here, but we're doing it virtually using VirtualBox. Okay, I'm hoping that makes sense. If it doesn't, again, please come to some of my classes. All right, so DC1. Now, what we need to select here is the data center, right? The data center with desktop experience. Very important that you do select that, because if you select any one of these other ones, like without the desktop experience, it's just gonna give you, a black screen, and then you're just really gonna give you the terminal. It's just gonna give you the command prompt, and you have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, it's really useless. All right, data center with the desktop experience. Click Next. Accept the terms, right? You can super read. Click on Next. And then here, when they're asking you which type of installation do you want to perform, we want to do the custom. Right? We're not upgrading anything. We're just installing everything from scratch. So custom, select the hard drive. Click Next. And then that's it. Really easy, straightforward.